Let's move it on here. Our next guest and I have not spoken in a whopping 24 hours. If we can get Evan Sohn on, he's the chairman and CEO. There he is, recruiter.com. Evan, long time no see.
Yeah, but I got a different background now. I was in the city at our WeWork office yesterday, and now I'm working from my home office. This is my CNBC office.
You have one up to me. I'm in this. I actually haven't left this exact spot since we last spoke. So recruiter.com, very interesting company, very interesting time to be in this business. Guys, let's see if we can get the slides up, Evan's slides up here. There they are. And I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Hey, Spencer, and thanks again. And I had a great time yesterday. Looking forward to continuing that conversation.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all the folks over at Benzinga for putting this conference on. It's really great to be able to tell our story. I've been listening in really the last couple hours, just phenomenal stories. Right. I usually lead with we're the most undervalued company on NASDAQ, but I think that was like a regular line that people were saying. So I'll probably leave that one out. And I'll tell you, I really loved the last presentation. The challenge in building a new market, and I've done both. We'll talk about my background maybe somewhere in the next, 12 minutes. We are recruiter.com. So it's a brand that probably everyone thinks they've heard of, but you should have heard of because it is the world's largest network of small and independent recruiters. And we have a platform. We're a technology company providing a platform of on-demand recruiters and recruiting technology. So again, tongue in cheek, you could think of us as Uber for recruiters. One needs a recruiter to take them to a certain destination, and that's what we provide. We have over 30,000 recruiters on our platform today, but we run the largest community, global community of over 850,000 recruiting and HR professionals, and we have an entire tech stack. Artificial intelligence, search, and engagement tools that give us access to over 160 million fully indexed profiles. Standard disclaimer. Thank you very much. We'll be coming out with our Q probably in the middle of November on time. So some of the data that you'll see here, some of the highlights are really referenced our prior Q. We are 4 months old on NASDAQ. We are let's call this a startup company on NASDAQ. The URL has been around for a while. The company really came together about 3 years ago, March of 2019, and we uplisted on NASDAQ at the end of June. So really just about 4 months old on NASDAQ. We are reinventing the recruiting industry. So the recruiting and staffing industry is a $120 billion industry. That's a $120 billion industry. We're not inventing recruiting. Recruiting happens all the time, and we'll talk about that. What we're doing is really reinventing the way it's being done to really address today's, and Spencer, you mentioned it before, today's new job, the new job economy. We call it the job hopper economy, and there are a lot of factors going in there. We talk about them regularly on things like CNBC and Yahoo Finance and other areas. But this is an unprecedented job market where finding talent is harder. Not a day goes by where you don't hear about talent shortages in hourly workers. I can't find talent in the highly skilled labor, hire from anywhere, work from anywhere. All these different things are really affecting what we're going to call the talent acquisition market. And anytime there's movement in the talent acquisition market, recruiters, the talent acquisition professionals that connect people together with companies, are actually the ones that benefit from that overall market. Just looking at what's going on today, and we've been talking about the Great Resignation for months now. We actually reported last month, at the beginning of this month, right before that 4.3 million people quitting in August came out, we reported the Great Resignation is here. Now, what does that mean? That means for your audience that every industry and every company has voluntary churn. So when we saw the numbers last month of 194,000 people being hired, there were actually millions of people hired. It only created 194,000 net new jobs. Well, what happened with all the others? All the others were people leaving their current job for another job. Let's call that backfill. But anytime there's movement, and this Great Resignation is really pointing to a moment in time where there's going to be lots of people moving around incredibly quickly. We believe that this is not episodic. This is not a one-time thing like let's go get the 9 million people who are sitting on the sidelines unemployed, or the 1.5 million women who are no longer in the workforce for a variety of reasons. But this is going to become a systemic problem as more and more people are leaving companies on a more frequent basis. And again, just look at your grandparents and the career that they had, your father or your mother and the career that they had, number of jobs, et cetera, and yourself. 3-4 different type of roles. And you look at the new generation of people where 60% of all millennials in a recent survey had no problem leaving a job within the first year. So what we have to do when we start looking at reinventing an industry is basically say whatever happened in the past no longer works in today's economy and no longer works going forward. And if you look historically at every sort of macroeconomic change, we've never brought those back. We started outsourcing call centers in the 90s. That hasn't come back. Amazon outsourcing web services. That hasn't come back. and if you look at the recruiting model really hasn't changed at all. There are two ways to actually recruit. You do it yourself. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, it's like ZipRecruiter and Indeed and LinkedIn. Well, that's part of the do-it-yourself model, right? If you did it yourself, you'd post a job, you'd find your candidate, you engage the candidate, you screen the candidate, and you hire the candidate. So you have two choices. You can either do it yourself, like I just said before, or you could hire, retain a recruiter. And the typical model was, hey, I'm going to go hire a recruiter. Let's call them a headhunter, and you'll pay them 20 to 30% of the salary, and they will do exactly what you would have done on yourself. They would post the job on ZipRecruiter or Indeed and LinkedIn, wherever, work their Rolodex, back when we actually had Rolodexes. They would find the candidate, engage the candidate, screen the candidate, and hire the candidate. We believe this model no longer works. And the reason it no longer works is paying someone. I want to pay someone. I need to find more and more candidates. I'm having higher churn. We have clients today that are actually churning more people than they can actually hire. And these are large, giant organizations. But even like the high-tech companies, where they used to have a churn of 2%, that number's up to 15%, and it's just getting started. So they need more people to help them with this overall hiring process. But they don't want to hire them. They don't want to actually hire full-time recruiters, full-time talent acquisition professionals to get this done. They don't want to really explode the overall company to handle these blips. Also, they don't want to shell out 20 to 30% of a salary to a candidate that if they join might leave within 2 years. That no longer works in this overall economy. And what we actually provide is a platform, a full-on technology platform, providing on-demand recruiters and on-demand recruiting tools. So what does that mean? I think I have a case study here. So Dentsu is one of our clients. They're like the 5th largest advertising company on the planet. And I'm not going to read the screen for you. They had hundreds of open opportunity, hundreds of open jobs that they need to fill very quickly post sort of the vaccine, very highly competitive market in the media space. And we hired for them. We helped them hire almost 130 people in 90 days. Now, how we do that is we gave them about 17 on-demand recruiters. Now, these are on-demand recruiters. Again, think of like Uber. I need 17 cars or 16 cars to take me from here to LaGuardia Airport. Now, I don't actually own any of those recruiters. Those recruiters were all on-demand, 1099. They don't work at recruiter.com. And we also gave them our AI sourcing tools to help find the right candidates, engage them using our tools with complete DEI sourcing capabilities, et cetera. And we also own some job boards like Media Bistro that really helped along the way. Just an incredible success story, but this was all done on demand. That means we ramped up the team, and now we ramped it back down to actually handle some of their other projects. We now have almost 200 recruiters out on assignment, and again, none of them actually work for us. So you're going to ask me about ZipRecruiter, you'll ask me about Indeed, LinkedIn, maybe Korn Ferry, a couple others. There's not one public company that has what we have, and let's walk it through. Right? You've probably heard of Korn Ferry, Heidrick Struggles, Russell Reynolds, the very large executive recruiting firms. We don't touch the executive recruiter, right? So this is not about finding the senior product officer for Coca-Cola. This is about finding the hundreds of people that they need in their factories. We're not a traditional RPO. RPO actually has hundreds of recruiters in-house, and they put them on assignment. Usually they're 1-year assignments. Maybe they'll let them switch people out after 6 months. We don't do that. We're not making you hire a driver to take you for the next few days to someplace. It's all done on an on-demand basis. So the recruiters that we provide are actually the recruiters that folks want to have access to, but they don't want to hire them full-time. In fact, many of our clients actually hire. They, in fact, make offers to the recruiters that we're providing on demand, and that's become another source of revenue for us. LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter are in the do-it-yourself model, and we actually leverage those tools. In fact, they've leveraged us. We've actually run marketing campaigns, both for LinkedIn and Indeed, where they've actually paid us advertising dollars to promote their services to our network because our network is so strong. And Eightfold is a highfalutin Silicon Valley company, a big unicorn now, and we have the exact same software, really par for par, in terms of our AI search capabilities that really help recruit talent faster. I want to leave some room for questions, but we have a great team. My background, I've done this a few times, never in a microcap space, so it's a lot of fun for me. I started my first company at 21 in mobile computing, got acquired by Dun & Bradstreet, went to another company, venture-backed company, got acquired by Message Labs, grew Message Labs, got acquired by Symantec. Most recently, I was with a company called Point, in the payment space that was acquired by GoDaddy. But it's not just about me. Miles and Ashley were actually the co-founders of the company. They're still very involved in the company now. Judy Crandall, our CFO, Zwan Smith, CTO extraordinaire, and ironing the rest of it out was Josh and Mike on both the sales and on delivery side. Just taking a look at some of our clients, you can really see that if you even our small clients are spending on average about $1,000 a month. Our medium clients, almost $15,000 a month. And our medium clients and our large clients are spending in excess of $100,000. And I think when you look at that portfolio of a client base, that's a very, very healthy client base. Only 20%, this was as of Q2, are tech and info related. So we're really across lots of different sectors because, again, we have 30,000 plus recruiters on our platform. We want to make sure that we have opportunities for all of them. Full built-out tech stack, including job boards, job board technology. We actually launched out earlier in the month jobs.recruiter.com, so a full-on job board just for talent acquisition. I've talked about this before, but there are actually more openings in the U.S. for talent acquisition professionals than there are for software engineers. So our job board now has over 1,000 companies posting up jobs and opportunities for them. We have curated talent pools, video interviewing technology, our AI sourcing technology, and then our distribution platform for really helping us place recruiters on demand and ensuring that they're actually doing a great job while they're at it. Just a few year-to-date accomplishments that we talked about. We're actually growing sequentially 25% quarter-over-quarter growth. Really incredible to watch that all happening. The bulk of our growth is really coming organically. We actually announced earlier this month we're not doing any more M&A. Our organic growth has really been fantastic. That we're not doing any more M&A in order to achieve our overall growth rates. We actually announced early in the month that we're not raising more cash in order to meet our goals either. We grew our community over 850,000 members, signed some really awesome clients, and we still continue to be really the voice of the recruiting industry. We have 3 million plus social media contacts, but really looking at not just on great conferences like here at Benzinga, but recently with John Najarian over in the NASDAQ studio. I'll be on CNBC a week from tomorrow talking about the Recruiter Index. It's a tool that we use to actually provide sentiment regarding the overall job market, Yahoo Finance as well. My favorite chart, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. See, Spencer, I'm trying to get you back on track. So not just really fantastic overall growth, our margins are increasing. Our losses were actually less in last quarter. We actually invested more money sort of in our S1. We talked about investing money from the raise into the business. We really did a great job over the quarter investing in sales and marketing and obviously technology. But what you're seeing here in the orange is really the growth of our on-demand business. So our on-demand business, which was almost nothing a year ago, is really representing almost half of our revenue and really increasing very, very quickly. On the blue side, this blue line over here is actually our software business. So our software business, which was almost non-existent at the beginning of the year, is now quickly growing. And this is all SaaS-oriented, very high-margin business. So really excited to watch this overall, the whole team come together. I'm surrounded by some really great people, great board, great shareholders, great investors. And finally, before I open up the floor for questions, I think the one thing that we all know is that the normal is not coming back. Right. So 2 years ago, we were talking about the efficacy of remote work, and now we talk about hybrid opportunities. If I asked your audience, and Spencer, I think we talked about this yesterday, if I asked you saw a resume 2 years ago of a 30-year-old that's been at the same company for a decade. So 2 years ago, same company for a decade, you would describe that candidate with words like steadfast, committed, loyal, climbing the ropes, climbing the ladder. 2 years later, you look at a candidate that's got 10 years at the same company, right? They're 30 years old. They've been at the same company for 10 years, 2 years later. So today you would look at them and say, maybe things like stale, risk averse, not interested in trying new things. So the question is not about us, right? Because that's not who we are. That's not how we might think. The question is, if you're a 26-year-old and you've been at the same company for 4 years, you're probably saying to yourself, or your parent is saying to yourself, hey, you've been here for 4 years. Maybe it's time you left and tried something else. This dramatic change is not going away. This is not a one-time thing. This is a new generation of a job hopper economy where this is the golden age of talent acquisition. And as Recruiter.com, the brand that actually defines this industry, we're going to really be able to capitalize and reinvent the industry for the new millennia. We're doing it today, and we look forward to doing it in the future. All yours, Spencer.
I guess that last point sort of flies in the face of my question, because I was going to ask you, like, when the job market normalizes, I don't know if you think it will, but assuming it'll normalize in some way, shape, or form from where it is right now, how will that impact your business?
Yeah, so let's break this up into two things. You have and that's why when I say unprecedented job market, you have 9 million people unemployed with 10 million job openings, right? And this is really in the hourly workers. So that will get back. It might take, it's not going to get back at 194,000 net new jobs a month, right? Let's assume that number was 400,000 net new jobs a month, right? That's still going to take a long time to get all these people back and employed, right? So we're still seeing that. And companies are really struggling with us, right? We're their partner in this. Our partner is typically either the startup company that got a hunk of cash and they have to expand really quickly, or the sophisticated companies that have a global head of talent. So they're trying to figure out how to get those people back to work. The question now is, are people going to go back to, I have that same job for 20 years? The answer is no. That is not going back. So there's an episodic event in terms of how do we get all these hourly workers back to work? But the ability now for everyone to have a job that they want and an experience that they want every few years that's different has never existed before. Spencer, interviewing 2 years ago. What was interviewing 2 years ago? You had to put on a suit. You had to take the afternoon off. You had to lie that you're going to a funeral, right? You took the whole afternoon off. You came in the next day, and the recruiter or the headhunter was calling you on the phone, and you're telling everyone, "Oh, it's my mom. It's from the funeral. She's really sad." It was a whole cloak and dagger. In fact, the expression "finding a job is a full-time job" that existed 2 years ago. What is interviewing today, Spencer? This is interviewing. 15 minutes on a video conference. That's interviewing. Incredible. So let's get this right. Every candidate now is more valuable than they were before. From the CEO to the Java developer to the person willing to walk into a factory. The ability now, let's take off the in-person, let's take that in-person out. If anyone wants to hire you, Spencer, they don't care where you live. There's no geographic limitation anymore.
Most of them don't. Some of them might.
No. What I'm saying is if someone wants to hire Spencer, right? If someone wants your skill set, your background and your skill set, there's no longer this, you're going to have to move to Seattle, right? If I want you, there's no more geographic boundaries for that. So I could hire from anywhere. So as an industry, we talk about work from anywhere. We could hire. That's going to morph into hire from anywhere. I could literally hire from anywhere I want in the world. So what am I going to say? I'm going to say that you as a candidate are more valuable. Millennials, by the way, our recruiter index last month, 31%, when we talked about candidate priorities, only 31% prioritized compensation. 31% compensation was the highest priority. That means 69% were non-tangible things. Work from anywhere, life experiences, work-life balance, all those things. That is not going away. COVID and the pandemic and the shutdown has merely brought this to the forefront. This hybrid, look, if anyone likes working from home, even 1 or 2 days a week, and the company said, "Thou shalt return to office full-time and vaccinated," I'm never going to go back full-time into an office. I'll go back 2 days, or I'm going to go find a different experience. So we do not think at Recruiter.com that this is only an episodic event. This is a systemic change where churn's going to be happening. And by the way, just look at the numbers, right? You look at the statistics of how long someone's been staying at a company, right? Grandpa stayed at IBM for 35 years, got his watch, and his full-on pension, right? And now you have millennials where, by the way, and this happens in Silicon Valley. If you're out in Silicon Valley and you've been working, and again, I'm generalizing, but if you're a software developer and you've been at a startup company for more than 5 years, right? You're probably the founder of the company, or there's some reason that you're sticking around there, right? Because why would I do that? They're leaving all the time. One of our clients, you look at his resume, and he's Google 3 years, YouTube 3 years, Google 3 years, Facebook 3 years, Netflix 3 years. That's the experience they have in Palo Alto.
I want to ask, there's a question from the chat from Tony here. If you have any software sales projections for Q3 and Q4 and even farther out to next year?
Yeah. So the guidance that we gave earlier this month is really that we're doing a 25% quarter over quarter sequential growth. We're really happy with that. We'll do some more guidance later on in the year, but not necessarily, breaking down the software numbers. We do that in our Q. We break out the software revenue numbers in our Q, and our growth is really fantastic. We've really, I would say, tripled down in terms of resources to make that really better. And we love the software. We use it ourselves, right? So we use our own software to find our own recruiters. We use our own software to find lots of things.
Got it. All right. Evan Sohn, CEO, recruiter.com. This is definitely a hot button topic for a lot of people, as obviously, right? It affects everyone. So Evan, thank you. I think a lot of people were interested in hearing about your company. Again, a hot button topic, and a company sort of squarely within that. So thanks for coming on today. Pleasure to chat again.
Hey, by the way, if anyone, they can email me at evan@recruiter.com if they want to continue the conversation.
All right. Thanks a lot, Evan.
Thanks, Spencer.